Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen Benelli. I'm the Reiki Lifestyle Podcast here with Robyn, as always, my daughter. And today is our community Q&A, so questions and answers. And so we are also joined here live with people from our Reiki community who maybe have questions or answers or comments about the things we're talking about. It's a whole conversation. And also just to join us because it's great to be in community. So for those of you that are listening later, welcome. Glad everyone is here, and welcome to all of you that are here live with me today. There's about 23 of us, so really nice. And just so you know, in the future, if you want to join the live Q&A podcast, first of all, you do need to go to reikilifestyle.com and register to be on the email list for it. So we're not sending out so many emails to everybody. We try to do specific lists for those that are interested. And then also, you can join late if, let's say we start at 9, and well, we do start at 9, but if you can't join until later, it's okay to be late. It's also okay to leave early. So you can join for whatever part works for you. You can also be on camera or off camera. Lots of explanation about that we don't need to go into, but you can join just to be here and be in the energy with us all. Because we'll start with an invocation pretty soon. And what we've found with the invocations for the podcast is they can go pretty deep, and they're very personal for each of you, even though they are, for the group and for the circle. As we say, the circle's always divinely ordered. They go deep, and they intentionally are working with each of you for what you need in the moment. Sometimes that's healing, sometimes that's balance, sometimes it's inspiration, sometimes it's, the innovations and ideas. So all different things that can show up for you in the invocations. Also in the invocation, since I'm on the subject, if you are driving or you are in a position that you can't go deep with the invocation, you may want to listen to it later and skip forward to when we get to the conversational part of the podcast. So be careful with it, because they do go deep. So anyway, that's just the way we are. So anyway, thank you. So just a couple of announcements before we get started. We do have some upcoming classes in Reiki 1 and 2 and Animal Reiki 1 and 2 and Animal Reiki Master. And that is in August. You can find all of that on our website, reikilifestyle.com. All our social, everything's under reikilifestyle.com. And you guys, most of you listening already know that. The one thing I do like to share about it is we always have our distance Reiki shares on Tuesday mornings, and those are free, open to everyone. Same thing. You can join when you can, not when you can't. You can come late, leave early, all of the above. It's free. It's open to all lineages and levels of experience, and even if you don't have Reiki. So those are Tuesday mornings. Again, you need to go to reikilifestyle.com and register for those emails. If you've already registered for any of the emails, you don't need to redo it. All right. Let's see. One more I should do is a class that William Rand and I are teaching together, a Karuna Reiki Master class in November. And that is a 7-day Karuna Reiki Master class in Hana, Hawaii. And so we have class, and then we go hiking, and we do all kinds of really great adventures in Hawaii. So is that everything, Robyn?
I think you got it.
Okay.
ReikiLifestyle.com.
Okay.
1,000 years.
There you go. All right. Great. And I see Danny's here too. Thank you, Danny, and welcome. Sarah is also part of Team Reiki, Sarah Benelli. She's here too.
Good morning, everybody.
Or Reiki Lifestyle Team, Team Reiki of ICRT. Hi, Danny. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't. Good to see everybody.
All right, let's go into the invocation. I can always tell when I'm talking really fast. So if any of you are ever looking for some type of an invocation you can use, we also have them written for free on our website under invocation booklet and or prayers and invocations under the Reiki Lifestyle free downloads. Okay, officially I'm going to get started. All right, so again, for those of you not in a position to go deeply into the Reiki energy during the invocation, you may want to fast forward and listen to it later. For those of you that are able, you can let it just wash over you anyway, or you can also close your eyes and go into it deeply. So however it works for you. All right, so here we go. Close your eyes and take some deep breaths. Place your hands together at your heart with your fingertips and palms touching. This is Gasho. Feel the energy begin to flow through your fingertips and your palms. As you breathe deeply and you open your heart and receive, and receiving on your breath, beautiful light of Reiki, life force, light force, from the earth, from the divine in the heavens, and within you. Place your hands comfortably on your body, wherever you feel guided. And as you breathe in the light and the power of love by every name it's called. From the source of creation, love is at the core of everything. And love fills your breath and reveals the life force of love within you. Every cell of your body is made of it. Every part of your consciousness is made of it. Your soul is love. Your spirit is love. And it's revealed right here as the power of love ignites within your body and is revealed to you. As you breathe in the light and the power of the divine mind. And the light and the life force of the divine mind fills your breath from the source of creation, the source of pure consciousness. The divine mind fills your breath and reveals pure consciousness within you. In every cell of your body, in every part of your soul and your spirit, pure consciousness is who you are at the core of your being. Pure consciousness within you ignites and is revealed to you. Your gut brain, your brain, your heart brain are aligned. The divine mind of the earth, divine mind of creation, and your divine mind. awakening your authentic intuition, imagination, insight, and instincts, your human knowledge and wisdom, your soul's knowledge and wisdom, your spirit knowledge and wisdom, your authentic intellect, inner truth, and inner authority are awake and revealed within you as the divine mind ignites your divine mind and reveals it to you, for you. Breathe deeply now and receive. As you receive the light of the divine heart from the source of creation, the divine heart fills your breath and your body, awakening your divine heart from the source of love, light, and consciousness. In the light of the divine heart, you became self-aware, your spirit unique, your soul's experiences here at this moment in time in your body as your heart beats and your heart light shines. And it shines in front of you and behind you and on each side as your divine heart ignites and is revealed to you. Your heart light shines above you and below you, and it shines within you for you to know here in your human experience, your soul's experience, your spirit, all one light, this breath right now. And when you listen, you can hear the heartbeat of the earth as the divine light of the earth rises through your earth star, your chakra below your feet. And the divine light of the earth and the heartbeat of the earth rises through each of your chakras, through your root chakra, filling you with the colors and the minerals and the life force of the earth, the strength of the earth, the heartbeat of the earth. As you remember, your body is made of the earth and gives you life and breath and gives your soul this experience. And all parts of you are right here. And the divine light of the earth awakens the colors of red and orange as it rises through each chakra. Yellow, shining right here in your solar plexus. Breathe deeply and receive. Bringing your self-awareness to your self-expression. And rising through your heart, color of green, your throat chakra in blue, indigo, third eye, your crown is violet. And rising through your soul star, your chakra beyond your crown, as the divine light of creation flows through your crown chakra and through each of your chakras from the soul star all the way through the earth star, filling you with the colors of creation, unified within you, life force, light force, human consciousness, consciousness from the source, pure consciousness. Your divine mind is right here, and when you listen, you can hear the heartbeat of creation, the heartbeat of the earth, and your heartbeat, all beating in the same rhythm. Your body alive and awake and present and full. As you open your heart and you receive the life and the light force from all the resources around you, from the divine earth, divine creation, and the divine within you. Since ancient times, the people have called to the divine in the heavens, the divine in the earth, and the divine within to live lives of wellness and thriving and love and creation, innovation, the beauty of the earth. As your spirit ignites within you, your wholeness is revealed. And like the tree of life, as you breathe in the light of the tree of life, it fills your breath and your roots grow deeply into the earth and are made of the earth, receiving the nourishment of the earth and the strength and the minerals and the elements of the earth. And your branches reaching to the heavens and receiving the ancient wisdoms through the four winds that encircle the earth, flowing through the branches of the great tree of life and the ancient wisdom and knowledge that is within you. Gifts and talents and abilities awaken from the earth and from the heavens. And it all meets and unifies right here within you, strong. Light of the divine compassion fills your breath, awakening within you grace and love, gratitude and wholeness. Revealing your true self, your authentic intellect, inner truth, inner authority. And as you receive, the light travels in on your breath, and sometimes the light needs to envelop those ways and worries of the world that can seem to hide it all from your own view. Sometimes the burdens of life, the difficulties, the challenges can hide it from you, hide you from you. And so you simply receive as your authentic self is revealed, and those ways and worries of the world and the cords and connectors to them just simply lift away from you, dissolving in the light, the burdens of them lifted from you. And they're carried into the light where they can be healed, transformed and transmuted. The burdens of them no longer yours to carry. So breathe deeply as you receive, and you receive the light of your sovereignty, your wholeness, that you too are a beautiful being of the light here on the earth, As your perceptions expand to the other beautiful beings of the light, some of them are non-physical, in the unseen. The angels and the archangels. They say they do show themselves all the time, though. And so we can just listen and know they're there, connect with them and get to know them. They invite you. The ascended masters, our brothers and sisters in the light, all the sacred and beloved ones and your spiritual guides that you are in relationship are here with you. Divine animal kingdom. When you are here with the beautiful beings of the light, you can see that your light is brilliant like theirs. At this time in your soul's history, your soul's experience, you are here being you. And so you bring your awareness to the heartbeat of the earth and to your body and your human consciousness, wisdom and knowledge that you have within you. Knowing it's here, sometimes even when life feels challenging and is challenging. Your gifts, your abilities, your strengths, your inner wisdom and knowledge is always here. So breathe deeply and receive. As divine compassion fills your breath, Sonar, Halu, Hearth, Rama, Nosa, Yava, Shanti, Kriya. Breathe deeply now as your spirit ignites. Holy fire, tree of life, as the light within you is revealed to you, for you. Look inside and say thank you to you. Take this time to be here for you and about you, as you are listening within you to the calling of your heart to discover you, to hear you in your authentic truth every day. In this experience of your life. And we say thank you to each other, as our circle is always divinely ordered. All of us here live together today and those who listen later. Thank you. As we join together in community to contribute to the wellness of life in our own lives, each other, our communities, the people, the animals, and the earth itself. Every part of this beautiful earth, as we listen and we join in the circle of life here on the earth with the earth. And we are grateful. And we say thank you to the enlightened ones that join us, those spiritual teachers and guides who are a part of our work. Thank you. We say thank you to the teachers who came before us, those ancient ones, and the lineage in between of light bringers. Thank you. And the descendants who come after us, as we stand together today at this moment in time as light bringers, contributing to the wellness today, listening to the descendants, listening to the ancestors, for the ways and the wisdoms of the divine in the heavens, the divine in the earth, and the divine within. Thank you. And so it is. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you. And of course, I have to come right back because we're on a recording. And so I'm going to start my video again. Thank you for listening. And this is a good time to join us if you had to turn us off for the invocation. Okay, well, Robyn, do we just want to start with some questions from everyone here?
Yeah. So we have Reiki Central. I know that you had some questions. I didn't know if you wanted to read them or you wanted to say them or have us read them. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Okay. Now you should be able to unmute.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Pleasantly altered. Thank you.
Yeah.
That really spoke to me, so thank you. Is this regarding the email that I sent? Okay. So we've all grown through something with COVID, and I am assisting an elderly couple, octogenarians. And my question was about supporting them using Reiki as they transition, end of life transition, and any guidance that can be provided in, as a Karuna Reiki master, the compassion is really important at this time, because what is occurring is the dementia and Alzheimer's and all the fun stuff that goes with that.
So, of course, every situation is unique, and each person is unique in their experience. So I would say one of the things that I learned pretty early on, because I've done quite a bit of both, nearly the end of life and end of life care, and also as a practitioner as well. And so what I would say more than anything is that I learned, and this isn't necessarily for you because I know you're good at this, but for everyone else too, that I had to learn how to assist them their way rather than how I wanted to work with them and what I thought they might need. And that was to be present in the needs of the moment and to stay in heightened listening and perception. So to get to a how-to with that, of course, working with Reiki energy, and that can be different every day, every time that you're with them, and what that actually means. So one of the things that we teach in animal Reiki is called a Reiki zone. So sometimes for me, the Reiki zone that I create is activating Reiki within myself so that it just is a field that is around me for whatever circumstance I'm in any situation, but particularly this one. The other thing that I do with a Reiki zone is also use it for the person. And by a Reiki zone, what we mean is intending that Reiki is in a particular space. So you can use the distance symbol to do that. You can do it physically by drawing symbols. You can also think it. You can just perceive it. I'm creating a Reiki zone around this person or in the room. Also listening, because not everyone is receptive necessarily to Reiki. And again, is that what they need and what they want? So I've also had to learn how to do the same thing according to how the person would receive it in the most beneficial way for them. So that may depend on the prayers and the languaging that I use. If they are particularly religious, then how are they speaking to God? What is the languaging they're using? And I learn what that is, and I use that languaging with them. And maybe if mine is, helpful, then I of course include mine. But if it's not helpful, or if it's different than their belief system, I actually activate everything according to the energies they work with and their belief system. If there are family members involved and around, then that needs to include them and respect for their needs around the way I work with energy with people. The other thing is that there are oftentimes you're just not able to spend a lot of time, like I say, like, oh, now I'm doing Reiki and I'm going to give a Reiki session. A lot of times, particularly if you're the caregiver or you are helping the caregiver, you're busy. There's lots of things to do in caregiving in these situations. And so in those cases, everything's going to be on the fly and in your mind. So the Reiki, the way you work with Reiki energy or prayers is on the fly. And what I mean by that is as you go, just, like thinking it however it works. Sometimes you can do things like we talked, it would be on our last podcast about imbuing sacred items. So one of the things that I've also seen for people is like to imbue a stuffed animal or a doll with Reiki that they can hold or have on their lap or have on their body. Perhaps you imbue a blanket instead. Something that can be on their body is another option. And then other times you're just going to be there quietly with them. You may be able to be hands-on, and you may not be able to be hands-on. It depends on the circumstances. So you adapt. When I was caregiving my mom and she lived here, we lived in the same house. I lived in her house. We lived in her house, I should say. And there were many times that I sent her distance Reiki, even though I was in the same house. And not sitting. And also many times she wanted Reiki, but she did not like it to go deep. And so I'd just activate Reiki while we talked, while she watched TV, the whole thing. Sometimes I could reach one part of her body. Sometimes I couldn't. I'd just be sitting next to her. So lots of different ways to be beneficial and helpful. I've also had times with active Reiki to just help people as they're leaving their body. And one thing I want to be very clear on, working with Reiki will not make somebody leave their body sooner than they're ready. And so you don't need to worry about that. The distance symbol in one of the people that I was helping cross, and he just had the hardest time actually leaving his body. And I drew the distance symbol, and I do this, typically always with people as a bridge of light. And the bridge of light goes to the light, because often that is one of the issues, is that people don't know where they're going to go when they leave their body. They don't have any particular belief system, or perhaps their belief system is they're afraid of where they will go when they leave their body. and they're nervous about that. And so they're going to hang on as long as possible. So in this one example that I was working with, that was a big teacher for me, also the one where I really learned that I needed to do it this person's way instead of my way. And I've told the story many times about him, and he wanted me to share his story. So it's not confidential in a way of like, I'm not supposed to share his end of life story, but he was raised on a reservation in Montana, Native American. And so he was also raised in the residential schools that we've heard so much about and the abuses of them. And so he was raised both Catholic, and then later in his life, because of the shamanic and native communities that I had available, I was able to take him to some of the Lakota ceremonies that he got to know at the end of his life. And so when he was ready to leave his body, he just said, I don't know where to go. Now, this was telepathic. He didn't say this out loud. This was telepathic that I was hearing. And he said, I don't know where to go. Do I go to the Christian heaven? Do I go to Great Spirit? Where do I go? And that's when Mother Mary, who he was also very connected to, and then his ancestors came through, his grandpa Magpie came through, and they came in with this beautiful unity and said to him, you don't have to choose. We will take you to this place of love. And they took him together. And then he was able to leave his body when he had that vision. Other times I've seen people afraid, and this is where that distance symbol or any of the symbols that you work with can be helpful, because it can really alleviate their fears of what actually happens. And so one of them that I worked with, he was like, I am not going up there because I know what happens to people like me, because he was aware of the life he had lived. And it actually showed, because he couldn't go with Jesus, who would have been his natural orientation, but that's who he was afraid of. And he was afraid of the judgment. And so an eagle came, and he was willing to go with the eagle. And the eagle took him, and what it showed was so extraordinarily beautiful, because it showed how many people he had helped in his life, and how, having helped this one person, it rippled out beyond that person and beyond that person. And it filled, the imagery was filling these large spaces of people in gratitude for him and who he was. And so he went to the light. So you can see by some of the examples that I've given that people have such a variety of belief systems that that's where you just stay out of the way. I didn't make any of this happen. It's just by simply activating Reiki. One of my skill sets is to observe how Reiki does the work that it's doing. So in that Reiki journey, I'm able to observe what's happening for them, but none of it is dependent on me observing what's happening for them. You can just simply activate the energy, let it do the work, let it flow through, stay out of the way. And if you observe, then you can. And, I could tell a lot of stories about this. And I know there are others here who are specifically in both training for end-of-life doulas. Sheila, I think you are in that training. Sue Strong, that works with us with the animal Reiki, has done that training, and also to apply the same thing to animals. in helping them in the end of their life. They don't have, of course, the fear of judgment. That's one of the main differences. And when we say they're not as afraid of dying as we are, that's one of the reasons, is they don't have that fear of what happens. In my own experience, and maybe this is just the population of people that I work with, I don't know, but in every kind of end of life that I have experienced and seen energetically, everyone is greeted with love. Everyone. And the judgment is only their own life review of did they live how they wanted to? But even at that, they're up in the light where it's a whole different perspective of their life. And so there's really a lot of beauty that's there too. And so oftentimes just activating Reiki in the space. And I know in your particular situation, all of this sounds so like kind of in that beautiful place, but it's also really hard when you're in it. It can be very hard in the exact circumstances that you're in with the people. And so the next piece is to really make sure you take care of yourself in it. And that's where Reiki can help you as well, because you can, first of all, I always have that field of light around me. I activate my guides, and by putting a field of light around me, what I mean is that I intentionally place the symbols above me, below me, within me, in this field and bubble of light and love, and keep my own energy within it, because also the empathy and the sympathy can be overwhelming. And then also the frustrations that can happen, those can be overwhelming. So know that it's also okay that you have feelings that are different than your actions. That was the other thing I had to learn, is that I was who I wanted to be, but I didn't always feel like who I wanted to be. Like I have had plenty of times of frustration, of worry, of grief, of every emotion you can have in those situations. And I've had people that are close to me and people that, I know, but not super close, like family. And so just know that it's okay for you to acknowledge the feelings that you have, and then also be able to create that field of light around you so that you have the Reiki energy that can help you stay stable in the mix of it all. And even if you have the feelings, that, you can still take the actions that you want to make as the person that you are. Also know that there were times that, there's been times I haven't necessarily, like spoken completely kindly, like I'm not always in this Zen place, but even at that, still always had love in my heart and care, and then also compassion for myself, because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard. So, use your skills, use your Reiki energy, whether you need to use it on the fly or if you have time to be in it, even a few minutes can make a difference. And if you can't find it for yourself, go to one of our meditations on YouTube, one of our invocations, and just listen to that. And you can even do it while you're busy. You don't have to always be sitting still. You can listen to these energies and let them wash over you, and let it work for you however you need it in the moment, and remove any specific requirements of how you receive the Reiki or share the Reiki in the moment with the people. So let it be however you can do it. And, we always love when we can be in it for lengths of time and be deeply in the meditation of it. And then other times it's got to be on the fly. So allow that. So Robyn, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think that was fantastic.
Yeah, and just adding to it, it's the same thing with animals and working with people. If you are an animal Reiki practitioner, or you're working with your own animals or family members, everything I said applies, with the difference of the animals don't have their own judgment, self-judgment of their life. Although they may still go through their own experiences of life review, but just know that it can be the same process when you're working with animals. Does anybody have anything you want to add, or go ahead, Em?
Thank you for mentioning animals. There are animals that live here, and I'm also their caregiver, and their stress
Yeah.
is remarkable. And when I want to know what is actually going on, I look to the animals. And thankfully I took Pam Allen LeBanc's animal communication course within the last year, and that has made a huge difference in my capabilities and hearing, on top of animal Reiki, and supporting the animals as well, because their identity, and that's not the actual word, but they're all Reiki attuned animals. I attuned them thanks to your teaching, and they were yes. But what's there for them with regards to what is occurring is, like I'm literally supporting 5 beings.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it, because I've had the training with you and with William and Robyn and Danny. And so I've, it is a lot, and apparently it's on my doorstep, because this is what I'm being trained and developed in, and I'm okay with that. It's just navigating this section of the yellow brick roads. Am I in the poppies? Am I being carried off by winged monkeys?
So thank you also for bringing up the animals involved in the situation, because our animals are absolutely part of the family, and they are often engaged in their own empathy and caregiving, and honoring that for them. And this is a little bit different, but my son and his wife and family had a pretty big fire in their backyard a couple weeks ago, last week. And their dog, who is, her whole everything is taking care of her family. And she is Reiki trained, although she's clear that she only wants to use it for her family. Like, she doesn't want to be a therapy dog. But anyway, watching her stress, taking care of everyone. And, when I got there, of course, she's coming to me like, seriously, I need some help here. And so understanding that animals go through that process as well, and noticing what they need. And that's that same use of the Reiki zone, so that you're just placing a zone available for them to receive, and they will instinctively and naturally engage with the Reiki energy for themselves as well. Also, after a person passes, really paying attention to the animal's grief. It's actually very real. They do have grief. And then also what's in the best interest of that animal afterwards. For instance, my mom's dog, who cared for her the entire time, and laid with her in bed for hours and hours and days and months and years on end. And afterwards, when she passed, I knew that I wasn't the right person for him. because even though we lived in the same house, I'm not laying in bed all the time. He needed somebody that would be living at his pace. And so I was able to rehome him, find him a new home where there was somebody that could relate to him and could live at his pace, because I live a completely different pace than my mother did in those years. And so also considering that kind of a thing, taking it out to that part. Because it is, the animals are very affected. And so also just same thing, you care for them as you can. And sometimes they do end up last on the list. And so that's why the Reiki zones can be beneficial. Same thing, imbuing a blanket for them, or maybe one of their favorite toys. But a lot of times, even just a moment of, you are such a good dog, or you are such a good cat, or whoever the pet is, that is close to the person, just acknowledging them is also extremely meaningful for them. Yeah. And Steve mentioned this in the chat, and also M mentioned it. Pam LeBlanc, she is Reiki from the farm, and she teaches a really great animal communication class. We also learn this in animal Reiki. Grief and compassion is a big piece of the training actually in Reiki 2, animal Reiki 2. Because it is such a big part of what we can end up with as practitioners or our own pets, and learning how to understand the animals. And let's say you haven't had an animal communication course or even animal Reiki, just through observation of them is what is helpful. And again, just that acknowledgement, the moments of acknowledgement of what they're going through, can really be meaningful to them. Sheila, I see you have your hand raised. Thank you, Em.
Yeah, hi. Colleen, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time and explaining about how to protect your energy in times of that you're dealing with someone who, is in end of life and so on. That's something I've been particularly struggling with lately, to the point where I really considered not doing it, because it was becoming overwhelming for me. And what you said makes a lot of sense. I sort of tried in my little way to protect myself, but no, this field of light really makes a lot of sense. So that's what I'm going to try from now on. It's important work, it really is, and very fulfilling too, but tough on the heart.
Yeah, it really can be. And thank you for saying that, Sheila, because taking care of yourself, often when you are the support person, is so hard to even support yourself and feel supported by others, because everything moves into about them, and none of it is about you, except it is also about you, because you are going through that experience as well. And so sometimes you may reach out for support from others to support you supporting the others. And then sometimes you really do have to take care of it for yourself. And that's where, even the acknowledgement of what you just mentioned is helpful to you to really look at it. Like, this is hard. How can I use Reiki? And you can ask Reiki itself in the moment, how can I take care of myself in this moment? And also, if you leave the moment, if you step out of it, perhaps, you're not living in the same space, or if you are living in the same space. And one of the things I was so uncomfortable with sometimes with my mom is, I would wake up and I'd think, oh, I need to open the door and check on her. And I'd think, I just need to wake up first and take this time for me first. And I'd kind of battle with it a little bit, like, oh, wait, I should check on her and open the door, but I really just need this time. I need a cup of coffee. There were sometimes it's like, I have to take a shower first, and then I'm going to open the door and look. And of course, she's always fine because I'm checking in. But at the same time, I remembered those times of like taking care of myself when I would have to kind of manage my shoulds around it or sort through, do I feel guilty if I choose this, or do I choose me in this moment because I really need to pick me right now in this moment so I can keep doing this also. So there's always a lot of navigating. One of the things my mother told me years ago before we were even in the situation, and I think it was a lot of it when my dad was dying and going through this with him. And, we were in life support situations and everything. And she said, the one thing I want you to know, there is always guilt to be found in any kind of a death or end of life, things you wish you had done differently, things you wish you could have done, should have done, didn't do, did do. And she said, just don't feel guilt. Don't do it. When guilt shows up, set it aside. And that was a skill too. Like, now I need Reiki to help me not feel guilt, So how do you do that? Because there's always more you could have done, would have done, should have done, wanted to do, all of those things. And the frustrations you might feel in the moment. And like you say, I can't do this. That's pretty common to feel like I can't do this. This is more than I can do. And so, yeah, taking care of you, Sheila. And then one other thing I want to say about it is if any of you get to where you're like, this isn't my calling to do end of life care with people, that's okay for you to know that and know that you'll use your gifts in a different way. It's not everybody's calling, and you may even think it is, feel it is, and then get to it and go, well, boy, this is just more than I can do. And then you can come back to it. You can do it at whatever level is, in alignment with you and compassion for you. It's okay. It's okay for you to say that and to really ask that question. Like, I don't know. I thought this was something I wanted to work with, but now that I'm in it, this is big. Yeah. So same with animals, same with end of life with animal care. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It's really, it's helped me a lot. I have to give some serious thought to whether I can really do this. Yeah. I've had a few experiences, and certainly has been eye-opening. And each one is completely different, as you said. So just kind of navigating my way, but yeah, it may not be my field, my thing, but I really appreciate your guidance. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome, Sheila. A lot of times too, it's not the person who's passing, it's the family or people around them that can be the challenge and navigating through that. And that may be where it really comes down to is, can I manage that part of the circumstance? Not so much the end of life with the person. It's, can I manage the family that I'm dealing with in these situations?
That's absolutely dead on. I didn't mean that, excuse me. Okay,
No pun intended.
no pun
That's okay.
intended.
Reiki has humor.
But yeah, you're quite right. It's everything around the person that's dying. Yes.
Yeah. Yep. And it's okay to have your boundaries around that too. But sometimes that's the developmental part of it. Like, oh, what does that even mean? What are my boundaries around the family members? Because they can be in all states of understanding, panic, every emotion possible that
And
you
sometimes anger too.
Yeah.
And they'll lash out at me. And I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa, hold on now.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was a surprise. But
Yeah, that's it. So that's where, again, bring in your tools and your skills, and then also your own self-compassion. Like what boundaries and what do you need in the moment? Yeah. Which
Thank you.
is sometimes, that's, I guess I think of that also as inner authority. And it sometimes these and any other situation like this is where it is also prompting that your inner authority to be clear, and what does that mean for you? And I think that in itself can be a process, because if you're like me and some of our generation, inner authority is something we've had to work through. Like, what does that mean? What is that within myself? And what is authority, period? And who has it in this situation? And so sometimes that part of it is a whole other piece that suddenly you didn't know is part of your personal growth and development. Like, who am I in this situation, and how do I take this situation, and I am the authority of what I'm here to do in this situation. And it can take some time to figure that out. But also in the same way that, there have been plenty of situations I've been in where it's like, it's not my role to be in this situation that they're maybe asking me to be in or putting me in. And it may be outside of my scope of practice. It may be outside of my skill set. And so that's where I have to be clear about what I'm offering and why I'm there and how I can help. So let me give you an example of that. And, I have a bunch of them, but an example of that is in one person that I was helping pass, and her family member had asked me to come and be at the end of life as they were removing life support, and to give her Reiki and have the whole family place their hands on her, even though not everyone in the family had Reiki. So I was actually guided to be put up at the head and at her shoulder as they were removing the life support. And I will tell you what, I heard that person say, you need to move and let my family be in this spot. Because if I open my eyes one last time and you're the face I see, like, I love you, but seriously, I want my family. And that was all telepathic on my part. It was such an energetic push. So I had to have the authority inside to be comfortable to do differently in that moment than what the family member had asked me to do. So I stepped out of the way. I brought a family member to where I was. I actually moved completely to the side of the room and moved my hands off of her. And I just did that whole Reiki zone, Reiki space within me. And sometimes you're going to have to do that in the moment, like, okay, Reiki, what do I do here? And, let yourself pause and go into it and listen for the situation. Now, in that case, that's a gentle version of working with the family members. So, it's maybe a little bit different than somebody lashing out. But usually that's part of your own growth too, is to really develop who you are in this situation, what your scope of practice is in that situation, what your role is and stay there and use that inner, like, here's what I'm here for, and stay in that position. And a lot of times you have to not let people put you in a position that you're not there to be in, or to be responsible for what you're not responsible for. I don't give any advice ever. I've been in a position to give advice, and even have had the doctors ask me to give their patient advice. It's like, that's not my role. My role is to just simply give Reiki and let them all decide what that is decision they're making. Unless it's my role to give advice, I don't. It's, I'm very clear about that. But I have to be clear within me first, so that I can say, oh, I'm just not able to give that advice, or this is outside of my role or my scope of practice. So, and then you get to decide, do I want to do all that? It just may be like, yeah, maybe not so much, or maybe with a more limited approach to it. Go ahead, Kaz.
Yeah, thanks, Sheila. After my father had surgery, I had my sister call, my brother-in-law call, and the hospital call to try to get me to take care of him. And it was like, I work 6 days. How am I supposed to do this? So I says, no, you're gonna have to push it to my sister. She don't work. She's home all day. She has to do whatever she got to do. But as the bottom line is, God, I ain't got no kids. So how am I supposed to, forget? I couldn't even take care of, I'm lucky I could take care of myself. So honestly, whatever your situation is, forget the guilt. You may not even be on this planet to do that.
Thanks, Kaz.
That's it. I'm done. Sheila, love you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. My work was more with in a doula sense.
Mhm.
So I mean, I've been with family members as well. That has happened, but more the medically assisted death, and yeah, quite a different twist on things. But anyway, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, Sheila. Danny, I saw you had your hand up. Did you want to add anything, or did we?
The main reason I got into Reiki is because when my mom was going through her cancer treatments, I felt I wasn't effective. I mean, I get her soup or water or tea. And so after she passed away, and she was 60, crazy, I thought, how can I volunteer? How can I help people in this situation? And so that's how I got into Reiki. I already had a job, full-time job. And so I just got into it that way. And so Sheila, just, thinking about you too, is I just feel like I'm like Colleen always says, that's her, what do you say, Colleen?
Form of activism.
Yes, thank you. So that's mine. So and so that ended up being the volunteer coordinator for the cancer clinic here in Eugene, Oregon. And it just went its way. So anyway, that's what I was going to say.
Thank you. Yeah, sometimes it all leads you to new pathways, for sure. Yeah, actually, when my, for me, that's really very much the same thing, because I was in shamanic training for 3 years, and I'll briefly tell this story, but it was my horse that was like my lifetime dream horse. And he went lame at 5 years old and told me that he went lame to deliver me to my power to heal, and showed me putting hands on him, which I knew was Reiki. And I procrastinated and didn't get my Reiki attunements. And again, making a long story short, a woman came into my place of business, told me she was a psychic with a message from my horse. And she said, he told me to tell you that you need to do what he's been telling you, because life is coming and you're going to need it. Well, I knew it was Reiki, and I got my Reiki attunements right away. And that's actually within several weeks is when I went through about a 2.5 year period of death and dying, where people died, animals died, family died. I mean, it was within 2 weeks, the first person. And I was so grateful to have Reiki to work with it all, but also because I didn't have any experience with it. I didn't really know what to do or how to do it or what I thought. And I was so grateful that I had Reiki to manage it all. Well, obviously, that is a very big subject. Thank you all for asking about it. And I know there's so much more information about it. Maybe that's what we need to do, is also have a podcast specifically about end of life care with Reiki. And I do know some really skilled people too that we could have talking about it. So yeah, these are just my experiences with it and what I can offer. There's so much more to know and skill to develop, and training that is available for it. So go ahead, Robyn.
Yeah, we have Kelly here that has a few questions.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you, Robyn. Hello, Colleen.
Hi, Kelly.
I just wanted to say, thank you. I took the Animal Reiki 1 and 2 with you last year, and I'm grateful for it. Thank you so much. A lot of the animal healing I've been doing has been distant, but this past Friday, I went to a horse farm, to do space clearing, and I was guided to share Reiki with the horses. And it was just a beautiful experience. Like, I've been working on one horse and all the other horses are coming. I'm like, okay, I'll get to you guys, I promise. And they were yawning and releasing, and the owners were so like blown away by the experience of seeing the horses release and so on. And so, like, I want to go back out there again just to have that continued experience. So thank you so much for the training that you gave for Animal Reiki.
So welcome.
So my questions are around past life healing. So I've been working with Zonar and the distant symbol for help with past life healing for myself as well as for my clients. And a lot of times my clients are asking, yes, for the past life healing, but they want the regression as well. And I've done past life regression, doing angel healing work with Charles Virtue. So I'm familiar with, how to apply it to myself. And I'm also familiar with the past life healing CD from ICRT that William Rand recorded. And so I was looking for ways to figure out how to give them that regression piece that people have been asking for, but using Reiki. So I've been doing, like combining some of the Reiki healing experiences, but geared towards the regression. Like, I take them through the forest, take them up a hill. There's a big crystal on top of the hill. They go through the door. There's a hallway down the door. And as they're going down the hallway, they're getting healing to release any fears, expectations, and so on. And then they go through the door. And then when I bring them out, I bring them back from the regression itself to connect to their higher self and receive healing and answers from their higher self. But what is the past life issue that's affecting them? Issue from that past life they visited, and what's the lesson they need to learn? Doing it on myself, it worked like immediately. It worked too well. It got me everything that I needed. And when I've tried it on my students, I've had them call in the symbols for themselves, depending on their levels, and taking them through it. Half of them got what they were looking for. The others, they could feel the energy shift, but they didn't see anything, but they could intuit their lessons, and they could intuit what the issue was, even though they didn't see the past life. And so I've been still doing little tweaks here and there, and I've tried it on a client where I brought in the symbols for the client and took them through it. So I'm just wondering, one, in your experience, how helpful or how much more helpful has it been to incorporate the regression as with the Reiki healing of the past life versus just the Reiki healing of the past life issue, period? And if you had any techniques that you've come across that have been more helpful than not in being able to take them through that process.
So great question. Robyn, I see you're unmuted. Did you want to answer?
Well, I think we probably have both to add to this. So, Kelly, first of all, yeah, great question. And I love your technique. I think
Yeah.
it's a fantastic technique.
I was thinking.
Yeah, combining the past life regression along with the Reiki energy and allowing Reiki to show you how it does the healing. It's really normal for people to have a variety of experiences, especially if they're newer to Reiki or Reiki experiences, which are similar to kind of like a Reiki journey, which is what it sounds like. A past life regression is similar. They're all different kind of spokes of the same wheel, I would say. And that they're going to have different experiences as far as their intuition is concerned. So some of them are just like in a Reiki experience or a Reiki attunement. Some people are going to have these really profound experiences. Some people are going to just be, really relaxed, maybe intuit a few colors, or like you said, they're going to have this, knowing that it's helping, even though they didn't have that experience. Some people are going to go into the gap, and it can vary each time. So it just depends. So that's very normal for that to happen. I know for Colleen and I's sessions, when we're doing this for others, we actually, like you said, do it for others. So because we are able to have that skill, or have developed that skill to be able to observe what the Reiki energy is doing, and relay that to the client, that is a part of how we do that, as well as maybe guide them on their own experience. So both things can be true, and it depends on how you feel called to that in your own practice, how you do that in your own practice, and it might vary by person, by a session. So love that as well. Generally speaking, in our own personal, like one-on-one sessions, we are doing that work for the client and relaying the information. But it's not wrong. They're just different to do it the other way. They're just different techniques. So either way works great. I would say how we do the past life technique is very similar to yours. One of the things that we do is that we always are making sure to do it from the third heaven or higher, that bridge, going over the bridge of light to the enlightened realms, where there isn't any duality or higher. Or you could, put in the word third level of consciousness, third heaven, however that, terminology works for you. So we are always using the distance symbol as a bridge of light to travel to that realm, to go to a location to do this work. So like I said, Kelly, it's very similar to how you are already doing the work. One of the things that I would say is that, sometimes it can be helpful to know the details. Other times it's not going to be helpful to know the details. And it is just about how it applies to their life today. I think either way, whether you are finding whether, the details come through or not, both things, it is about how it applies to our life today. What is it healing? What is it letting go of? Like you said, sometimes there's a inexplicable fear, inexplicable block, or limiting belief that there's nothing in this lifetime it necessarily relates to, but it started somewhere in a past lifetime, and that's why it has carried forward. So even if you receive the details of it, it still is always about how it applies to our lives today. Other times there aren't going to be details, and it is just all about what it's letting go of in this lifetime to help us. The other thing that I would just add too is that it is also about releasing the layers in the past lives so that we are revealing more and more of our inner truth, our healed ego, our authentic self in this lifetime. And that, I know one of the things that Reiki does is it focuses on that empowerment aspect as well, rather than just the healing aspect. So in previous lives, there can be the lifetimes where we have a very a lifetime where we have a lot of gifts that are also brought forward into this lifetime. So to also have both sides of that coin when we are doing past life work. But as far as your technique, I think it's fantastic. I love it. And combining that past life regression, using the Reiki energy, allowing the Reiki energy to show you, I think that is a really amazing and great way to do the actual, have the skill of the past life regression through the Reiki energy. I think that's fantastic. I love it. Colleen, did you want to
Yeah,
add?
well, like you say, I think we would say a lot of the same things about it. And Kelly, I think, like Robyn said, you're, really even asking the question of Reiki of how do I do this? And how is this working? And how do I help other people to do it as well? And the one thing that I would add to it, well, because I think of regression as more like going into a lifetime and knowing exactly what that lifetime was, where you were, who you were, etc. With Reiki past life experiences, I see it as a little bit more general because it's really going through what needs to heal in this life that is generated from that life. So for instance, one of the things we can see pretty often are oaths and vows that were spoken in another lifetime. And particularly, I think, in this population of people where many of us were healers in other lifetimes, and dealt with persecution or even, death because of it, and forced to speak specific vows or oaths. And so those can often be some of the things that need to be released from another lifetime. So another example of that might be a vow of poverty. So, that's one that can really stick with people because for maybe even more than one lifetime, they've decided to be in that vow of poverty, or perhaps even a depth of belief that poverty brings you closer to God, and that was a whole string of lifetimes that they may have experienced. So that's why sometimes the Reiki energy is really looking more at like that kind of the concept than it is looking at, well, which lifetime was it and what happened in that lifetime. But both can be valuable. They're just different ideas of doing the same work. So like you can ask that question, what lifetime was this? And have it reveal that way. Or it may be, what are the issues affecting today? And let's take vow of poverty as an easy one. So if we take that experience, or sometimes all of this applies, what we're saying applies to ancestral healing as well. One of the things that I've really found has been a shift in how this energy is doing the work, particularly after I started working with Holy Fire and kind of doing the same thing you're talking about, Like I would go in and say, okay, I've been doing soul retrieval. I've done thousands of them this other way. Now, how do you do this work? And asking the energy, how do you do this same work? And letting it show me through experience how it does the work. So one of the things that it really showed is to go into those same situations and ask for the gifts and the talents, the capabilities of those past lives, and really bring those forward as the greatest method of healing. So here's an example of that. I remember one time I was doing past life healing and I was asking Reiki. I was in the middle of it and watching this like terrible past life. I was like, why did we have so many just like these hardcore, terrible past lives that need to be healed? And Reiki said, well, that's because that's what you're asking to see. If you ask to see the lifetimes of mastery, the lifetimes of gifts, the lifetimes of capabilities or love, or maybe even just a lifetime of contentment, or, things like that, then that's what you'll see. So I started shifting that in my sessions to have the revealing of those gifts and talents to really come through. And I observed it making a tremendous difference in the healing that was actually taking place, because now they were empowered with these abilities, gifts, knowledge, inner knowing, inner wisdom. And it was more about that empowerment than the overcoming of what needs to be healed. But they work together. So that's not 100%. Like, both are happening at the same time. And they both have value. And, I've done both. I have not actually been trained in past life regression. So I've always done past life work through my shamanic work or through my Reiki work, and or the combined of both. When I say or, for me, they're very combined. So just as a suggestion to add that piece in, like show me those lifetimes, but also show me those lifetimes of like really like the lifetimes where, man, you had some great skills you had, or like I say, sometimes people just want what was the ordinary lifetime where I was just really content. Like, show me an easy lifetime.
Can I give an example of that actually? Because sometimes they're both. So an example for many of us who are called to healing arts might have, what we know as the witch's wound, right? Where in past lives we have been persecuted for being healers, for being herbalists, for being connected in healing paths that are connected to the earth, that have been midwives, yeah, that
end of life.
Yeah, we could go on and on and on, right? Where we have been persecuted for these styles of healing connected to the ancient ways. And so there is that piece of it that we need to let go of, that persecution, which many times in this lifetime can manifest as, being somewhat afraid of showing this side of ourselves because of persecution in the past. But then if you kind of flip that paradigm a little bit, or shift that paradigm a little bit, that also includes those gifts that are latent in us, right? And that remembering of those gifts from those lifetimes that we know we can hear that calling towards, that we have something in there that's that calling towards it, which is why we are connected to it or called to it in this lifetime where we can. And so if we let go of that healing that needs to be healed, but we focus on that idea that we that empowerment side of it, that gift side of it that we have carried for a long time, just waiting for a time frame where we can let it show or really remember it again. That level of empowerment, that level of remembering is contributing more and more to that revealing of our deep truths, revealing of that inner truth, revealing of that authentic self. So there's many different versions of that. That's just an example that I think many of us not only relate to, but also have clients that we've seen that in, or the clients that have that same, somewhat of that same calling, or students of that same calling that are called to this, that there's both that are important. But I want to really focus on that remembering of those practices, that remembering of who I was for, however many generations, for however many past lives, and go into those gifts and talents, go into that expertise of it.
Yeah, thank you so much for that clarification. Because, yes, what I do tell my clients is that, our soul collects all the information from all our past lives, with the same soul going through each one. And so we always have access to the energy of each of those past lives. And I give the example about when I started doing Qigong, nobody knew I was doing Qigong. But then I worked with a medium who said, "Are you doing Qigong?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, in a past life, you were doing Qigong, you were teaching it. And so you're probably tapping into that past life, and that's why you're doing it now." So I do give that example so that they feel empowered, that it's already a part of them, that knowledge that they can use is just a remembrance of that knowledge, and using Reiki to help build that connection a little bit more stronger for them. So I think for me, yes, I've been focused on the past life healing part, because a lot of the clients who come to me, just they actually tell me, "I feel like there's something in my past life that's like really haunting me right now, or negatively impacting how I see things right now." So that's why I've been focused on more the healing part rather than the empowerment part. But I will start to, also welcome that into the practice and working with clients, and even working myself, because every past life I've been to has always been tragic. And I even said, "Can I just have a past life one time where something good happened? Like, just have a positive experience for once." I know I'm a very old soul, so there has to be at least one out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I think because with the angel, when I did past life with angel work, we're told we can either go to the past life that affects us the most at this time, or we can ask to go to a past life that is related to a particular issue. And so for Reiki, I've been focused on the past life that's affecting them the most right now. So yeah, so I will do a little bit more intentional work in, past life, to help empower them as it pertains to living more of their authentic self, revealing more of their authentic self. But thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I think that's it for now. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Yeah,
Thanks,
I love that
Kelly.
work. Great question. And thanks for sharing how you're doing it too, because I think that is a really neat way to do it.
So you have to share with us after you've, worked with it, with this perspective, after a little bit, and share with us too, because the way you're asking the question is exactly how we do the work too. It's like, just go in and ask the energy, "How do I do this?" And then let it show you. And of course, we share with each other, like your techniques. And I love the idea of going to the top of the mountain, to the place of the crystal. It's just beautiful. So thank you for sharing all that too.
And Kelly, I know, what's the name of your business? Because I know you have a business, so people can get a hold of you too if they are interested in doing that work with you.
Yes, it's My Wealth in Health, and I'll put the link in the chat. Yes, and I will. I'm still continuing to make tweaks to my own script that I've developed to take them through it. And so once I get to a happy standard place, I'll share it with you.
Yeah, thanks. Well, that's how it all works. And I think it's ongoing.
Yeah.
it's an ongoing, that's the fun part, is there's always more that we get to learn and do with it. So my wealth and health. Yeah,
mywealthandhealth.com. Is that what it is? Yeah. Okay. Awesome.
nice. I love that.
Go ahead, Kara.
I recently studied the Akashic records, and it's kind of mind-boggling. It's a little bit different than just going into a regression, because you can actually ask very direct questions and see where it takes you. And some of the downloads and some of the information has been absolutely mind-boggling. And I recently had my monthly Reiki session with Pam. And because I had opened my Akashic records before this session, the information that came through that made a lot of my issues become very clear was amazing. And because it's a little more open-ended, I think, than past life regression, because you get to specifically say, okay, this keeps happening to me. What's going on here? But I was really humbled by the combination of the Reiki and what came through with what Pam and I have been working on. Opened a lot of eyes in my head to see why I'm doing some of the things that I'm doing. And for those of you that are interested, I take it from a woman that I met when I went to the Karuna Reiki session in Redondo Beach in California. And it's a Creek Lady Healing, a Gmail. And she regularly gives these classes.
And what's the name again?
Creek Lady Healing. I'll put it in the
Creek
chat.
Lady
If anybody
Healing.
is interested,
Thank you.
you can contact Nancy. She's a shaman and practices many, many forms of native arts and healing. And that was the beginning of my question about how you combine shamanism and Reiki.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm taking a shaman. I'm like, I call it shaman 1.0, 1/2.
Right.
But I'll put her address in the chat, so anybody who is interested, I think she's doing another class either late fall or early next year on the Akashic records.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And, there's so many different techniques and ways of doing things and energies that are out there to explore, ways of exploring, ways of healing, ways of empowerment, and different modalities, all doing the same kind of work. A lot of it for each person is to really listen for what resonates with you. And in particular, the energy that you're working with to do the work that you're doing, the techniques that you're working with within those modalities, and are you called to a particular modality and the energies that go with it and the techniques that go with it. And Kara, I know that you were asking about how I combine shamanism with Reiki, and such a big subject. I don't think we have time to go into it today. We can do a whole podcast on it, actually. So the style, to make that short, the style of shamanism that I was trained in is called core shamanism. And that means that we study the practices of indigenous people from around the world and then develop our style with that. And some of those practices, the training is very specific to that tradition. And so then if you are working in that tradition, then, it's important that you are honoring and practicing just that tradition. Some of the trainings, of course, are global. Some of the shamanic experiences are very global and very similar in style, but the techniques themselves are different, and the energy that you're working with is different. So it really depends on, what you actually mean. Shamanism, the word, is a very broad term. There are many, many lineages of shamanism and ways of doing things, the energies that each style is working with. And more than anything, most of us have indigenous people in our background, whether that's, in my case, it's Celtic, or, in other cases, it's from other traditions from around the world, because that's what we use to heal people for, before we have what we call modern medicine that then separated out from these practices. And now it's moving back into integrated medicine, where there's a recognition of the energetic component that goes with healing as well. So it's a big subject. So maybe it's one that we can have some of my shamanic colleagues on and do a little bit of a round table around that subject, because it's not just one answer. It depends on who you're working with. So if I am working with the Lakota family that I was in training with, they have very specific traditions and ways of practice. And if I am going to go, that is called Red Road. And if I am going to practice that style, I need to be in that style. That's part of their tradition. It's not like you're kind of using some of those practices and adopting them into another practice. They want you to be working with that practice. But then there are other ones, for instance, my training is also in Celtic shamanism. So what are the ways in the Celtic regions? And so it's really around the world. And I've studied it in traditions from around the world. And so it just depends on the tradition that you're working within, what those tools are and what those techniques are. So the most important thing, if you're going to really decide you're going to study in shamanism, is to really talk to the teacher and find out what the traditions are going to be, and then really listen around. Is that the style and the technique you want to learn? Is it a match for you? Is the teacher a match for you? Some techniques in shamanism absolutely do not want you using Reiki to combine with it. And I've had that training as well. And so when I'm in those traditions, I'm not calling in Reiki energy. I'm working within their tradition. Some of the others absolutely do invite Reiki, or they do invite combining traditions. And in a lot of ways, many of them are being returned to our intelligence and our way of doing things and practices that have been lost for generations. So they're being remembered as well. So there's a lot to it, and it's very global. It's very much practices from around the world. And so the main advice I have for anyone who wants to study shamanism is to really have discussions with the teacher to make sure that the style they're teaching is a match for what you want to learn. So that just takes listening. It takes some interviewing, or if it's okay to, like you say, go into the 101.5 or 101.5, where you're tiptoeing into it to see and to listen around that.
Go ahead, Kelly. I saw your hand up. Oh, did she have to take off?
She said she has to run.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, for me, it was like, here's your sign, get busy, woman. When I went into the shamanship with Nancy, it was so strong. It's like, no, got to do it. It was just like when I got into Reiki. Didn't know what it was, just knew that I had to do it.
Just saying yes.
Yep. Sometimes you just say yes and go for it.
Don't know where it's going, don't know where it's leading, but you just say yes. I was actually talking to Colleen about that yesterday. I know that's a big part of my intuition, even though I have no idea where the end is following. When I know I have that feeling of I just need to say yes, I know good things are coming.
I had absolutely zero idea what shamanism was when I started in the classes. And this is a funny story within Light Song Community, is I was actually in training for 2 years. And this is not minor training. I mean, Jan Inglesmith, my teacher, is serious teaching and very, very involved in it. And about 2 years into it, she said something and I raised my hand and I was like, "You mean we're learning how to do healing?" I had no idea. I just thought it was fun. It's like we are dancing around fires with drums and, doing sweat lodges and vision quests and doing, things and talking to spirits and learning about it. And I did not know. I missed it. And the whole class just looked at me like, where have you been? So it took me. So for those of you sometimes who are thinking that I just don't get it because you're new, look at that it was 2 years before I even knew why I was in it. And even then, at the time, until actually it was a year later that I received Reiki, I never thought that I would be doing this work. That was never a part of why I was doing any of it. I just thought it was fun. It was personal development for me. I was growing in a way, and I was getting to access what I now know was my own inner truth in a way that I hadn't found for spiritual practices before. And so it was leading me to whole new perceptions and also old perceptions that I didn't know I had forgotten, that I was remembering or re-remembering. But shamanism is quite a bit longer practice to learn and to become skilled in. And that's another piece that's important. Here's one of the differences in the two modalities, and I'm only talking about these two, is in shamanism, when you're connecting to the energies and the spiritual guides that are doing the work, you are learning how to do that through a journey state, getting to know those spirit guides and really developing the skill one-on-one with those guides to do the specific work and the specific techniques. With Reiki energy, you are actually attuned to the energy, and that attunement gives you a direct connection to the energy. So you are immediately working with a very enlightened, higher consciousness level of energy to do that same work. And so that's really the big difference. Well, wait, there's a lot of big differences, but the attunement aspect of it is one of the very big differences in how Reiki energy does the work. For me, and I have to be careful with this because, Reiki is not specifically shamanic, but I have a very shamanic perspective of Reiki. Usui Sensei was Shinto. He was absolutely working with the spirits of the mountain. When I was just on Mount Karama and we met with the priest who is Buddhist and working with their specific kind of style on Mount Karama and talking about, because Mount Karama was really devastated by a typhoon a couple of years ago in 2018. And he was talking about how he was talking to the land and talking to the trees about how to rebuild the mountain, how to replant the trees. What do the spirits of the mountain want them to do? What do the trees want? What does the land want? What does the spirit of the mountain want? So that to me is very much the same thing that we're doing with Reiki energy. We are connecting into life force, and life force exists in us and it exists in everything else. So how do you make that connection? And then how do you work with the energy? And what is the energy like? So those are all the big pieces when you're working in these fields, to really have an understanding. What is the technique that you're using to connect to the energy, receive it, and deliver it? So lots of ways to access it. And lots of ways to access the spiritual world and modalities that do that. And each one has its own unique energies, techniques, and ways of doing the work and ways of understanding it. Yeah, thank you. Like I say, it's a big subject.
Right. Well, I think that this is a good place to kind of wrap up. Thank you so much, everyone. If you need to get a hold of either Colleen or myself, you can go to reikilifestyle.com. All of our information on classes and all the other things that we do are there, including our Next Step Reiki and Explore the 12 Heavens Reiki, which are, they start again in January. Those are year-long advanced training courses. You can find our emails there, social media, all of that kind of stuff. You can find at reikilifestyle.com. So I think that is it for now. And thank you all so much who were here joining us, able to join us, asking your great questions. Those who emailed us too, we always hope to get to those if we can. And I think we will just see you next time.
Yeah, thank you. And for those of you listening later, thank you. We're all community and divinely ordered circle. And so we're just always hoping that what we provide is helpful resources for you. So, and sharing. So just lots of fun to share. So, thank you, everyone. Many blessings, and we'll see you soon.